There was some suggestion that if you use Infuse, you can speed up the surgery, and then the doctor can you can go do another surgery more quickly. Remember that?
I do remember that. I think that there is evidence that the surgical time is shorter when you use Infuse than when you harvest bone from the patient's pelvis.
Likewise, the anesthesia time is shorter, correct?
Yes, and that's generally the indication for using it.
Dr. Degali suggested that the extra half an hour to 45 minutes or an hour of anesthesia, which the patient would undergo to do the iliac crest harvesting, would be medically insignificant. Remember that testimony?
I do remember that, and I think that's really misguided. I think a major goal of our surgeries and our improvement of surgeries in the past decade has been to be faster, to be less invasive, and we've got good evidence that when we can save operative time, especially operative time with patients that are halogenated at general anesthetics, there's a major benefit to that.
And he also testified that during the second surgery, Dr. Dobkin found that the cage which had been placed at the L4-5 vertebrae had, quote, moved. Is there any evidence that it moved?
No, radiographically there was no evidence that the cage moved.
He then said that one of the screws had become loose and had to be replaced. Did that happen?
I didn't see any evidence of screw loosening, nor did Dr. Dobkin's operative report suggest that the screw was loose.
Or replaced, correct?
Or replaced.
Did you say Dr.? Oh, yeah.
It was Dobkin.
Right.
Is there any evidence to suggest that this patient, first osteolytic reaction, what does that mean?
So osteolysis, again, osteo is a prefix for bone, and lysis is breaking or unbinding. So osteolysis is a loss of bone.
And it's true, is it not, that when you put the cage in and it has exposure to the infuse above and below, right, the cage has a flow through, right?
Right.
And that there is potentially a reaction between the infuse and the bone above it and the bone below it, true?
Yes.
And the suggestion, I believe, was that somehow this patient's reaction to the infuse at L4-5 created an osteolytic subsidence of the bone, and that should have given the doctor notice that he shouldn't be using infuse again because the patient was having a peculiar reaction to it. Remember that?
I do remember that deposition. It was odd.
If it's true that she had the osteolytic reaction at 4-5, wouldn't you expect it at 5S1 as well?
Well, let me explain that the physiology of what is supposed to happen in the inner body space in the early phase of healing involves infuse generating an environment that is inductive towards new bone formation. And there is a stimulation of an inflammatory environment. This causes blood vessels to enter, causes cells to enter, and then the infuse causes these cells to then transform into bone-forming cells. So that's a normal physiology of what the drug is intended to do. So if we look at every single case, indeed, we oftentimes do see some evidence in the early phase of some bone resorption in the immediate area where the infuse is placed, and then subsequently that's transformed into a robust bone healing reaction. So I don't think there was anything about the early phase of this postoperative course that was unusual or abnormal.
And ultimately, the fusions were successful at 4, 5, and S1 with the same human being with the same products, true?
Right.
Okay.
So empirically, using the BNP the second time worked. It induced a fusion.
Dr. Degali indicated that in his mind, Dr. Dobkin failed to give informed consent because he did not disclose to the patient the nature of his relationships with Medtronics and Globus. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
and specifically relating to the fact that, and we'll get into it, was there anything that you saw relating to Dr. Dobkin's relationship with either Globus or Medtronics which you believe needed to be disclosed to the patient preoperatively?
No.
Okay.